Section 14.4 talks about playing sound. And just from my notes, making quick comments, we're going to be using two different classes. The one loads the sound into memory, and then the other gives us the methods that we might need to play the sound. Code listing 14.4 is one that's called Sound Player. And I think when I went to run it, it didn't work very well. I think that one gave me an error. So, but anyhow, we're looking at in 14.4, we have a bunch of events that we'd like to take care of. And, you know, whenever we have an event and we want to handle it, we have to do the registering of it. But things that we can do with the sound file is we can play it, we can pause it, we can stop it. Some of the methods that are in fact available. And in this code listing 14.4 called Sound Player, and again, I did give you the zip file of chapter 14 files. So I don't know if you want to go get it or not, but you can see how we're going to create the buttons. Play, pause, stop. We've given them names, and then we register each one of them. Okay, and the syntax play button dot set one action event, and you got the idea. And it should load up and give me a simple 3-button layout of play, pause, and stop, and it should play, pause, or stop that file that you loaded in. Check 14.14 out, see if it works, if you have it. Code listing 14.14. While you're doing that, I will also point out lines 25 and 26. Almost like working with regular files, but I have a media object, and then I pass that into the constructor for the media player object. Does 14.4 work?
The one that plays the guitar sound?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I was thinking you already had the zip file downloaded and extracted, but maybe you didn't. Yeah, it's looking for a file guitar.wave that should be in there. Anybody get it to work?
I mean, unless the file is in like our like resources or whatever, or in the correct location, it's not gonna run.
So it should be in there though, guitar.wave.
Mine's working.
Okay, good.
What's the name of
the
what's the name of the
you
code
uploaded.
listing?
Okay.
Code
okay.
listing is called Sound Player,
Okay.
and the guitar.wave should be in there. And again, the reason I gave this to you is you may not need it now, but you get this up and you have it and you play it, and you know, some of you really get into this and say, oh, I'm saving this because this is a whole lot of syntax for something that I don't know if I'll need it now, but some point I might need it. And this is the layout to get you ready to play, you know. But it sounds like folks have it working. Okay, the next section is 14.5, and there's playing videos. there's two code listings. One is 1415 and one is 1416. 1415 is one, it's a video demo. And when you run it, it just demos a video. 1416 actually includes the buttons for play, pause, and stop. But I think you were, well, clearly the sound one worked. The memory, or this one, the video one, wasn't working right. So if anybody wants to load up video player, this is the nicer one because it doesn't just play the video. It gives me a play, pause, and stop. But I think there's an error, a media error, if I remember correctly, and couldn't get it to work. So go grab video player and see if it will actually play that takeoff video, taking off on a plane.
It's working for me.
It did? Oh, awesome. Patrick says his works. I don't know what I did wrong.
Mine says my import statement is not visible.
So this was the one where I had to add the Java FX media into the compiler settings in JGrasp.
Ah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, that's why mine works too. I saw Matt posted that, so I did that. I forgot about that.
Okay. Dan, are you okay with that?
I'm working on it.
Okay, all right. And again, I want you to play with, if I just told you they're there, you probably forget about it. If you play with it a little bit, you know, all of a sudden, some of you are going to go get your own video, and you know, now you have the code for a video player. And if you want to do other things to it and mess around, you can. Two fairly simple sections. The next two are kind of cool. We're going to play, again, we're going to play with programs. Again, this is just kind of a play day ready for the test day, but it's not going to be a program. We're going to write a program at the end, but it's not for a grade. But 14.6, handling key events. 14.7, handling mouse events. So this section, these two sections talk about, let's start with the first one. What if I pick a key on the keyboard and press it? Can I have a listener ready so that when I press it, it knows something was pressed and an action will occur? Or if I release it, you know, which isn't as common, that a different action would occur. Or if I hit a specific one. And that third one is where, you know, when this was being taught 20 years ago, gamers were all excited because you could set up key events for the left arrow, the right arrow, the up arrow, and the down arrow. And all of a sudden, you know, you're starting to put the layout and move something around the screen, and, you know, depending on location and all kind of good things. And man, I remember going back to the first computer game that we all played. It was called A Bard's Tale. And you walked around and it told you if you hit a wall or if you could take a step or you came to a store, but you really never saw anything. It was just you moving with the arrows up and down. All of a sudden you come across a band of monks and you'd have to fight them or run and different things like that. But it was really basic, and it was based on the arrow keys. Loading up code listing 14.7. If you want to go grab it, it's called key press demo. And what happens in this guy is every time you go and just hit a key, you hit a key, and you're going to come down to this guy, this method. It's a handler. And the handler, all it's doing is adding one to a count and then displaying it on the label. So every time a key is pressed, it's coming in here, adding one to count, displaying count. So when you run this, you're going to see that it just keeps track of how many counts. And you could go through and, you know, if we wanted to really get in deep into this, write a program that displays the letter U, go in and just all kinds of different things you could do with it. And then in 230 now, we've lost a lot of coding concepts of doing logic things like math, and we're starting to hit a lot of the prettier things. 14.8, if I made you write it, some of you would get really excited, because in 14.8, we have the arrows, as I was talking about, and we have an X and a Y coordinate for the arrow. And we have this whole key pressed, and depending on the key pressed will tell me if I'm changing my X-axis or a movement on the X-axis or Y-axis, and I'm just moving this simple ball up and down the screen. If you expand the screen, it still stays in that limited window. It doesn't grow. But you get to play with a pretty little ball bouncing up and down. And of course, you can make this live action instead, and you know that by random numbers and moving the ball. Did you have fun moving the ball? Awesome. Awesome. The next, as I mentioned earlier, is instead of the keyboard, we have this whole mouse thing. And I don't know the history of the mouse. I kind of do, but supposedly there was a guy, and he originated in Lancaster and went to the company and said about having this device that will allow you to move around the screen instead of just characters. And the company told him he was crazy, and then he moved on and sold it somewhere else. But originally, there's some backstory of something in Lancaster, and it's where it all came from. But some of the things you can do with the mouse, we have a couple of handlers already built in. You see there's three of them: a mouse event handler, mouse move, okay, and mouse drag. And you start thinking of all the things you do with your mouse and what you can do. If you load up 14.9, the mouse event demo, it's really exciting, because if you have your mouse outside the ball, it's one color, but when your mouse is in that area, it changes to a different color. And I'm sure if you really wanted to, you could put other objects on, and as you move the mouse over, do like a rollover, you could change pictures into other pictures, or I don't know, whatever you wanted to do. I mean, we could hit a final program here, but I'm not, that I could tell you to create a, I don't know, family tree and roll over, and you could see pictures of people, or underneath it and see text files of lots of stuff we could do. The next one is the 1420, the mouse moved demo. And as your mouse moves, one of the things is the location in pixels. We talked about this before, how it resembles the fourth quadrant, with the Y values being positive instead of negative. And we can get the coordinates of the mouse. Are any of you being wowed? No. And finally, the last one is the mouse dragged demo. Ugh. So again, 14 is one of those we cover like we did, which was kind of lightly. The other choices, I think if you covered it, you'd have to go really in depth and play with lots of code that could possibly do lots of things. But I decided to keep it kind of simple. Okay. Give you another minute. All right, so what I want you to do is, I want you to do a program. It's going to be like the mouse rollover, but what you're going to have is some sort of picture. I'd like it to be the back of a card. Okay, of a playing card, the back of a deck of a playing card. All right. And when the mouse is sitting outside, it's just the back of the card. But then when the mouse moves over the card, I'd like to see an image of, it's almost like a guessing game. Can you guess what card this is? And, so when they roll over, it's going to randomly pick from one of, I don't know how many images you want to put in there. I don't think you want to put all 52 in there, but maybe you could do the 4 aces, call guess the ace program. So when you roll over, you might say ace of diamonds, and you roll over, a random number will be generated to display one of the 4 aces. So you're going to need a total of 5 images, the back of a card and 4 aces. Roll out, nope, roll back in, boom, get it right or get it wrong, kind of deal. Got it? One to play with. Any questions? Hopefully you'll be okay with this. 4 groups of 4. Sign automatically. All right, see what you can do. Good luck.